performance pass. Don't.
UCLA and Amherst. Now a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, Dr. Sowell has published more than a dozen books.
Neighbor joker, neighbor joker, neighbor joker. That's all the money that me work for. A £2 note and a guild piece. A £2 note and a guild piece. A £2 note and a guild piece. This is all the money that me work for. Money neighbor, money neighbor, money. Now I know what you can have in money.
you do? Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I need some light in this place. Let there be light. Not everybody can stand light. Some people like to exist in the dark. You call them vampires. Well, nocturnal creatures. Right? Nocturnal creatures. Beware of the nocturnal creatures. Morning, welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. It is 7 hours 19 on the 29th day of December in the year 2021. 29th day. It's a very, 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 very important day. Very important day for the people of this country. Also, it's a very important day for many of us who lived under the PPP of past. And so I'm coming to you from Buxton on a very important day. You know what I mean? What Guyanese do today will ultimately determine the quality of life we have moving forward compared to the politicians, compared to the friends of the politicians, compared to the children of the politicians. And while I'm saying politicians broadly, I'm saying by extension the enablers, and more specifically the politicians who currently control the national purse. Because I believe that unless we do something and we do it quickly, even if there were to be a change in government in another year, perhaps 2 years, or if they go, the PPP is allowed to go for a 5-year term, there will be nothing, absolutely nothing, for those who replace the PPP to do much for this country with. Understand me. I am saying, it's my firm belief, that unless a stance is taken today to stop the runaway train called the PPP, whenever the PPP is booted out of office, there will be absolutely nothing for the new administration to use to really and truly improve the lives of Guyanese. Campaigning for the 2015 elections, Guyanese were promised a good life. Based on projections of the David Granger-led coalition, Guyanese were going to get a good life. That is what was promised. Many will argue that the journey to the good life had begun, yet there are many who will say they never experienced the good life. The good life was only a dream. Well, I'm saying no. That dependent on what Guyanese do today, the good life will not only remain a dream, but perhaps become a nightmare. What kind of nightmare are you talking about? Talking about a nightmare where the haves would be so far apart from the haves not, where the wealth of the country will be concentrated in the hands of so few, that the majority would be wallowing in poverty and face the consequences of us not acting against the PPP and stopping this runaway train in its tracks in a definitive and decisive way today. You know, I like to say, let me draw the nexus. I like to draw the nexus all week. It's quite revealing or frightening if depending on which angle you see it from. That in this sitting of the Parliament, of the National Assembly, in this session, the PPP is seeking to bring 2 bills to Parliament. One has to do with harvesting human organ harvesting. And the other has to do with coveting the finances of this country, which is coming from oil production. People don't see the nexus. I'll tell you what that nexus is. You look around the world and you look in countries where the nation's resources are controlled by a small few, where the income gap is so wide that there's the super rich and there's the abysmally poor. Look at that. And what do you find happening? What do you find happening? The super rich use their wealth. They use their wealth to get what they want, when they want, how they want, from whom they want, at the expense of the poor, the abysmally poor. And so when a multi-billionaire gets ill and needs an organ transplant, they're going to the slums. Rather, they pay people to go into the slums. They hire folks to go into the slums. They have their underground organizations and institutions, medical and otherwise. They identify people based on medical records, and they send their goons to get them out of the slums, and they extract from those bodies what they want. You say money talks and bullshit walks. The super rich uses money to get what they want, when they want, how they want, and from who they want. And so don't be fooled. Do not fail to recognize the nexus between a bill which basically is going to legalize organ harvesting in this country and a bill which is going to steal the nation's money from its citizens. Don't miss that connection. There's a real connection there. A lot of people who talk, Jack Dio looking bad. According to somebody like them all suck out. Whatever. Maybe Jack Dio needs an organ. Who knows? And the foundation is being laid for Jack Dio to get an organ. It might sound like a conspiracy theory, but knowing this demon according to Norton, you don't put anything beside them. All things are possible under the PPP government, installed or otherwise. I am saying to you, my brothers and sisters, that today is extremely important. Every single human being that has breath, regardless of race, color, or creed, should be in front of the Artichoke Convention Center today. I think they say they start at 8:30. To voice their disagreement with the moves which are currently being made by the installed cabal to not only amend the Natural Resources Fund Act, but altogether throw it out, because that is what I see it as. That is what I see it as. Throw it out. And have their way. One caller yesterday raised the question. And you see, he sent me a subsequent voice note to say I didn't address his issue which he raised. But sometimes I try to save my own sanity. Desiderata says, do not compare yourself to others, for they will be less than greater persons. And when you make such comparison, you will either end up vain or bitter. And so sometimes I pay no attention to people and their utterances, because it would force me to compare myself to them. And I would either be vain or bitter. And I don't always like to be vain nor bitter. And so sometimes I just don't pay attention to when they send me these things. But the gentleman not only sent his voice note for the program asking about, or saying that as far as he understands, when the Natural Resource Fund Act was passed, the coalition was a caretaker government. And in short, if they were a caretaker government, that's my interpretation, they had no reason, no right to pass the NRF. And so he is seeing that argument as the basis, he is seeing that fact, he is seeing that situation as the basis on which Jack Dio and the PPP has a right to throw the NRF in its current structure and put in place what they want. Let's just assume that he is correct in that argument. I certainly don't believe that he is correct in that argument. But if one were to assume that he is correct in that argument, are we saying that the Natural Resource Fund Act or Sovereign Wealth Fund Act the likes of what Jack Dio and the PPP are taken to Parliament today is acceptable? Let's forget the Coalition Act. Are we saying that the act that is going to the National Assembly today, the bill that is going to the National Assembly today, is acceptable? First and foremost, oversight. Only 5 persons will have oversight of the country's wealth, the biggest chunk of the country's wealth, the biggest source of the country's wealth. Only 5 persons will have oversight of that. And only one person gets to pick these 5 persons, according to the Act. Only one person. The president picks the 5. The president determines who will be the chairman. As they say, that's a case of trying the devil's case in hell or putting cat to watch milk. Let me tell you what will happen. As I say, under the Jagan government, he took his driver and made him a minister. Let me just take you back into a little into the past. Under the previous PPP government, Jack Dio's government, when they were giving out radio licenses, a whole host of them were given out just before the term of office ended. During that period, which you might call a lame duck, or whatever they call them, I don't remember. Right? Check, do your research, and you will realize that many of those licenses, despite they show up in the public place with names that you may not necessarily associate with the PPP unless you do your research, you will come to realize that at least 3 of those licenses were awarded to very close relatives and friends of Robert Prasad and the PPP. You hear what I'm saying? And so when you come to pick this 5, let me just be a little facetious. You're going to get here from Ali, assuming here from Ali is doing the picking. You're going to get here from Ali sister that married to somebody that ain't got the name Ali. You're going to get the cousin that come from some other auntie that certainly didn't marry Ali. You're going to get his great cousin that come from some Douglas mix-up because he cousin married to some black man down the line. Then you're going to get the godmother because she's of Amerindian descent. In short, what you're going to see is a group of people, 5 persons, certainly all bearing different names, maybe different features, but all connected. All connected, if not to Ali, who they say will be doing the choosing, certainly to the PPP, and so they will be right there to just do the PPP's bidding. Can you understand that? Look at the name submitted for the Police Service Commission. And check the connections of all of these people to the PPP. That is exactly what is going to happen if this bill is allowed to be passed in the National Assembly. That is exactly what will happen if this bill is allowed to become law. So forget the argument that the NRF under the coalition was passed during a time when they were supposed to be a caretaker government. Forget that. Let us look at the acceptability. Let us look at the acceptability of the bill in its current state. Is that acceptable? Is it acceptable that as soon as this bill gets passed into law, this cabal can withdraw every single cent, every blind cent, every green cent out of the NRF to do as it pleases? Is it acceptable? This is a situation, let me give you a comparison. This is abuse to me, domestic abuse. I like to liken it to. A woman lives with her husband. He has put rules in place for the management of his money or the family's money. Wealth which he is building for the future of his children and grandchildren and next generations. And true, for some reason or other, he and his wife can't agree. And they decide to part company. She has control of the funds. But the rules are there under which she can access the funds. The rules set up by her husband, who is perhaps no longer. And this other man comes and tells her, listen, I'm going to be good to your children. I'm going to be good to your household. Give me a chance. Like, take care of your sweetheart. I love you from the day I see you. I love the dust you walk on. I'm going to be good to you. And she took the bait and got married to him. And as soon as she gets married, he says, I will take full control of all the money your husband left. I will decide how it gets spent. Get rid of the rules that he left. Beverly Monroe, if you want me to read what you're typing, you best use the right text. Right? And so here comes this man into your home, broke up everything, take all the money to do as he like. Will you allow that? Will any right-thinking individual allow that? Can you? Will you? I doubt it. And that is what the PPP is attempting to do. All of this wealth that has been accumulating in the Natural Resource Fund, they're watching it all the time and they're telling you, we ain't interfering with it. We're not interfering with that money because we want Guyanese to have a better say into how it is managed. But here they're coming like thieves in the night on the 29th of December to say, hey, we're coming for it all. We were just watching it grow. And now that it has reached a point where it is appealing enough, we're coming for it. Are we prepared to allow that? Are our Indo-Guyanese brothers and Amerindo-Guyanese brothers and the Portuguese and Chinese Guyanese, shouldn't all of us, every ethnic group in this country, recognize that what the PPP is about to do is take from every single one of us what we and our offspring rightly deserve for themselves? You saw the primaries this morning. What happened to the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Angola? In fact, talking about that, I got Glenn Lal on a TikTok. I want to share Glenn Lal's TikTok with you. I can't say Glenn Lal is my favorite person. I can't say he's an enemy either. because I don't think we've had any personal matters, personal issues. But I know for a fact, what I can say is that over the years, he's been in the camp of the PPP for whatever reason. Like big businesses, everybody got their reasons for being with whom they choose. Right? But Glenn Lal has gotten a revelation, if I can call it that. Because you suddenly, like when, was it Saul who got a box off the jackass and became Paul? The persecutor. Right? The persecutor suddenly got an awakening. Suddenly realized, hey, something is wrong here. And so Glenn has been talking a whole lot about the PPP. Let me share with you in a nutshell what happened to the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Angola. You saw it in a primer this morning. You saw it while I was playing it earlier, those of you who joined early. But just a summary, listen to what Glenn Lal has to say. This is his description. Is there any volume there on this thing? Forgive me, sometimes the technology just beat me bad,
They come.
Here is Glenn.
I leave my home to make this TikTok especially for you guys. Kick down the door bandits this up. Happy Boxing Day to all of you. I leave my home to make this TikTok especially for you guys. Kick down the door bandits that operate in the wee hours of the morning when you are dead asleep. They come, they beat you, they rob you, they torture you, they kill you, and they go. Our new government is doing the same thing, coming here right now in the wee hours in the morning, come Wednesday the 29th, to pass a law while you sporting and have a good time, that give them no jail time and to steal your oil money. Listen what Angola did. Angola have an oil fund sitting outside, and the government throw away the committees and the laws that govern that oil company. They say it's their money and they have a right to spend it how they feel like do. They throw away the committees, they set laws in place to jail nobody. Here what the minister did. Went and draw 500 million US. Gave it to a company to build a deep water port. When the media found out the deep water port was given to one of the minister's best friends to build, who never built a latrine. When they dig further, they found out that the minister is the owner of the deep water port with the people of Angola money. And when the media go further into that, they realize what the minister did. He guaranteed that investment with the people money on the state. So win, lose or draw, he and his colleagues and his friends will make money for the rest of their life. Just in case this program cut off, they will have a part 2 of it, okay? So please, make sure you follow what I'm saying. This new government now is going to do the same thing with our oil money. Kick out the 2 committees and they will spend money, draw out the money and put it in projects to which will benefit their friends, their family and their people. Yes, our money. And there will be no law whatsoever to jail anybody. That's in the new law they're going to pass on Wednesday. Please come out Wednesday morning and stop this law. Stop it. Happy Boxing Day.
Y'all hear Glenn TikTok in there? Right? You recognize anything? Any similarity to Ghana and the PPP and what was happening or still happening in Angola? Y'all remember Fit Motilal? He was given a contract to build a road, the Amila Falls Road, the road that went to nowhere so far, by a man who never, ever built as much as a walkway. Right? Fit Motilal was given such a grand contract. Taking the nation's money to invest it in things and guaranteeing it on the nation so that friends and cronies get money. Look at the Barbies Bridge. Win, lose, or draw, the investors in the Barbies Bridge who invested the least and are collecting the most will always collect. NIS, which invested the most and is set to collect the least, has never really collected. Those are things to keep in mind. And that was in the previous PPP government. What is happening currently? The bill is going to Parliament today. Oversight, 5 people. I will choose them. I will determine who is their chairperson. And since those 5 people are my minions, my creatures, they're creatures of me, the PPP. When I say I want to draw out all of the sovereign wealth fund, all of the money, all they will do is put their signatures. Because don't fool yourself, the reward will be fitting for the puppetry. The rewards will be fitting for the puppetry. It might not be there at the highest level, at the highest scale. It is certainly not going to be in quantities similar to what Jack Dio and Irfan Ali and the rest of the TFIM PPP top branch will get. But it will be more than the average citizen will ever get. It will keep them out of abject poverty. And so all they will do is sign. That's what they will do. Because they will sign to keep their cushy position while the nation suffers the losses. This is an abomination. This is more than psychological abuse. Guyanese have to come out and go out there in front of the Artichoke Convention Center, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your political leanings, regardless of if you're PPP or WPA, PNC or GAP, regardless of your political preference. You have to put all of those things aside, religious preference, all of those things aside, and stop praying and tell me God going to change it. Because faith without works is dead. Yes, we have to trust in a supreme being, but we also have to act. And so everybody, every citizen of this country should be in front of the Artichoke Convention Center later today. I say to shout it down, but in my mind I'm saying storm it. Yes, I am saying storm it. Take away the MACE. You see what people don't know? Once the MACE is absent from Parliament, there can be no Parliament. The National Assembly cannot function without the MACE in place. Somebody needs to go in there and break it up. See, I'm inciting. But somebody needs to ensure by any means necessary that that bill doesn't get passed. And if you're talking about democracy and defense of democracy, the great United States, as you all like to say, look what Trump supporters did. When the elections was called for Biden, they stormed. What do they call it? Wherever. Was it the Pentagon? I don't pay attention to these people, you know. They stormed it. the seat of government, the seat of their oppression. And they stormed it. A couple people lost their lives, but they made their statement. Capitol Hill. Thank you. And so I'm saying that if it takes Guyanese storming the National Assembly today or wherever it sits to deliberate on that bill, so be it. Broke up the MACE. You're going to take time for to get a new one. By then you might get rid of the government. Sometimes you can't get from point A to H immediately, but you can take short steps to getting there. Yes, David, I say undermine the government. I support that call. Now I'm saying undermine the parliament. Stop it from functioning. Because its function is at a disadvantage of the citizens. And when you have systems in place, systems in a country that are not working for the benefit of the masses, then you have to do something about those systems. You have to do something. Something has to be done. Listen, I quote in the Bible again. It says if your right hand offends you, cut it off. Cut it off. And so anything that is standing in the way of a better life for the Guyanese citizens, a better management of our resources, and prudent governance, we have a responsibility. The Bible tells us, it ain't way, it have bugging you, get rid of it. And so by any means necessary, we have to prevent the Parliament, the National Assembly from acting. Because as a leader of the PNC says, this bill will pass because they have the majority in Parliament. And if they ain't got no freaking Parliament, they can't get no vote. And so no bill will pass. Some people call it extremism. You call it what you like. I call it nationalism. We need more nationalists, more patriots in this country. They call it riotous behavior. But riotous behavior is necessary. Come on. The PPP understands that riotous behavior is necessary at times. They were extremely riotous when Granger attended that function at the Pegasus. They were extremely riotous when Irfan Ali and his goons attempted to turn over the vehicle with Dr. Karen Cummins inside. So what? Other people can be riotous to make their point? Guyanese, people's power, no dictator. People's power, no dictator. People's power. The power is in the hands of the people. Let us go out there in our thousands, hundreds of thousands. You all remember, let me talk about riotous behavior and preventing the Parliament from acting. I don't care. Just nobody know. That's a KK that came and keep this up. So. You all remember. When the Bishop was seeking to have his way in the same National Assembly, when Barney Scotland was the Speaker, and And the bishop refused to respect the ruling of the speaker. And the speaker attempted to put him out of the house. There was riotous behavior. The PPP rioted in Parliament. It shot, they broke it up. The police station of Parliament had to call for backup from Bergam police station. Make them call for backup today. Make them call for backup today. And that was a small bunch of goons. It was a small bunch of them, not more than 35. Small bunch of goons. I think they were 33, 65, 32 perhaps. When Region 4 results were being declared at Ashman's building, and they weren't having their way, international observers and actors were among them. Representatives of the international community, including ambassadors, were among them. When they stormed the building and they attempted to kick down the door of the office in which Claudette Singh was, that was riotous behavior. And so what is to say that in the defense of our national patrimony, we can be riotous? Why shouldn't we be riotous? Knowing that if this bill gets passed, we ain't got nothing to get. The PP is going to go right away. Right away into the sunshine with all of the country's sovereign wealth. Is that what we want? Is that what we are prepared to accept? So forget the argument about when the National Resource Fund Act was passed. The APNU administration was a caretaker government. Forget that. Look at what is before you. Look at what is before you. Is that acceptable? Mr. Crawford, I think that's the name of the guy. And by extension, all those who are supporting the PPP and their nonsense. Is that acceptable? It can't be. There's a clause there that says as soon as this bill gets passed, we can withdraw all, the entire balance of what is a sovereign wealth fund. Bring it to zero balance. When your account goes to zero balance in a bank, it gets closed. Can't you see that? And so in short, that bill is saying, once it's passed, we got a right to close the account and direct the money wherever we want it. Do you know how much of the nation's wealth have already been directed to wherever the PPP wants it, and nobody can track it, nobody can give a comp for it? Up until today, while they tell you that the investors in GT&T who bought the 10% government shares are supposed to be some Chinese or Hong Kong business people, up to now they can't name them. I am saying to you, it is my firm belief that those investors, despite hiding behind Chinese and Hong Kong and all kind of places, are elements of the PPP. They are elements of the PPP. The hundreds of millions of dollars in gold that was smuggled and found, I think, in Curacao. Up until now, they can't tell you who the smugglers were. That was the PPP siphoning off the wealth of the nation. directing it wherever they want it. There are people who are going to play some people will be uncomfortable. There are people in this country who has information about where the country's wealth was siphoned off to. But in the name of professionalism and in the name of whatever they want to call it, protection of government secret, and whatever they want to call it, they will not reveal that information to you. The State Asset Recovery Agency is now shut down by Anil Nandlal. There were operatives there who were investigating these things. And just as how they found where state lands were being misused by people who had no right to using them, and they reclaimed them for the state, I am putting my head on a block that they must have had other information in terms of the state's resources being mismanaged and misdirected by the PPP. But the nation is not aware of that. Why should we be kept in the dark? The time is now. Those information ought to be revealed to the Guyanese people so they get a clear understanding of this thieving cabal that they're dealing with. There's no need for secrecy and privacy. There's no sorrow. And they'll say, get rid of it. I said we could get rid of it, we could get rid of the secrets. Let's talk about the things that were found while Sarah was in existence. And let Guyanese understand the kleptocrats who are in this installed cabal, and they're trying to make the same magic again with our natural resource fund, our petroleum money. We're going to make it disappear. People trace gold right up to Curacao where it was seized, but they don't know who were the beneficial owners, who were the shippers. They don't know who were the contact person. Shipping has to have a manifest to start with. Somebody had to ship it. Somebody had to be responsible for the ship on which it was found. But citizens are not aware of that. Guyanese, regardless of your color, regardless of your creed, regardless of who you believe in, regardless of who politician or political party is supporting, your place is in front of, our place is in front of Archon Convention Center today. We could sit here and we could pontificate all day. We could talk all day on social media, but nothing will change unless we turn up in front of the National Assembly. Don't worry, the barriers that they tell you against them put up from Sherry Street and from UG Road, push them down! Push them down! Against as a non-enforcer for the PPP. He was there when the three were killed on the Linden Bridge. Let him kill more Guyanese. If that is what the police force thinks that they should be doing the ranks of the force, kill Guyanese is standing up in defense of Guyanese patrimony, let them kill people. But we must resolve in our minds that anybody who loses blood or life today in this struggle to defend the national patrimony, they will not lose it in vain. That must be our resolve. They will try to use fear against us, bullyism, force, but we must have a resolve that whatever we face today must not be in vain. People must be made to pay for it. People must be made to pay for it. It is the legitimate right of citizens to defend their national patrimony. And anybody who stands in the way of that defense must be seen as the enemy of the people. The police is there to maintain law and order. Fair enough. Law and order. We want law and order. But we will not and we must not, we are not to stand for brutality. And so if they're going to come with brute force and ignorance or arrogance today to prevent citizens protesting this injustice which is about to be handed down to them, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's my message to you today. Join me. Join us. Represent yourself and family and your next generations. In front of our Atachong Convention Center is the place to be today. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Let us stop this daylight robbery. Let us put a stake in the wheels of the PPP. Stop this runaway train. Protect your national patrimony. Protect your inheritance. It is already being squandered. But the little that is left of it, let us stand in defense of it so that we can get in our ounce of flesh. That's all I want to say to you. In our ounce of flesh. Might not be a pound anymore. But if we are going to settle for an ounce, let us settle and defend it. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Kodaki and the viewers. This situation has gone beyond that point where it seems almost impossible to recant. But I am saying this. If Guyana's patrimony can't go for the majority of Guyanese, then the selected few should not be able to enjoy anything. Time for destruction. So if one can get, none can get. That's the point we beat at. Destroy, just destroy. So nobody must benefit. Because it is unfair with what these criminals in the PPP are doing. It is so unfair. If one can get, none can get. End the story.
Caller, did you get disconnect? Caller?
You make up the mind. You do it the way the majority would look forward for it to be done, so nobody benefits. Because it is unfair for one set of people getting all this thing and nobody else gets. Destroy so nobody gets in the story. We'll start back from scratch whenever that time comes. It's so blasted unfair, man. It's wickedness to the highest. Thank you, Kodaki.
Thank you for calling. Voice note.
Good morning, Kodaki. What I want to say is whether or not the bill was passed during the caretaker government, it was a good bill. It had checks and balances. They're not looking at the content of the bill. That make me believe it wasn't about the bill, it's about control. Thanks.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain on 6225933 is the number to call. Voice note.
You see, when the Manza came out and said these people are mentally lazy, right? So don't think for yourself wherever.
Call all the line.
If one and
me morning. Now because you money, now you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning, neighbor. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph, for me.
Congratulations to those of you who could read lips. Y'all heard anything that I said? Good morning, Mr. Jose Morgan. I trust you rested and recuperating. Don't worry yourself, you better get it right. The sound is coming. Yes. I was saying it's 7 hours 21 on the 30th day of December in the year 2021. And I thank you for tuning into the Buxtonian Morning Time on KAMSTV. We're broadcasting from Buxton and coming to you live on social media, Facebook Live. I trust that you have had a productive day yesterday. I hope you made some money. Money is always on my mind. I hope you got rested last night, so you rested and you recuperated, and now you're all energized to face another day. To face another day in the struggle. To face another day dealing with this corrupt and illegitimate government called the PPP. There weren't large numbers outside of the Artichon Convention Center yesterday. Right? There weren't large numbers. But the impact was felt. Thank you and congratulations to those of you who went out there. You see, what people don't understand is sometimes all that is needed is a little encouragement. And so despite the numbers were small out there, the message was sent yesterday that we are not standing for this nonsense. Your parliamentary representatives were energized. They got a message and they went into the parliament. They got guidance and they went into the parliament. And with that energy that they took from you, I must say I'm proud of you parliamentarians this morning. Y'all know I like share licks at the start, so share kudos. Well done, parliamentarians. They say who the gods want to destroy, the first make mad. But they also say prayer without works is dead. And so regardless of what you pray for, you got to act on it. And I think the parliamentarians acted last evening, and they got their reward. There was confusion among the enemy of the state. Confusion was among the enemies of the state. And so this morning we have a situation where the legitimates are saying that their amendment to the Natural Resource Fund Act, the NRF, was passed legally. And the opposition is saying, no. That bill was not passed legally. And I'm on the side of the opposition that says it wasn't passed legally. Because you see, for a bill to be passed, there's certain things which must be in place. There's a video with Royzel Ford explaining it. And I will explain it better. Royzel will explain it. I'll use his video. But like I said yesterday morning, don't worry this nonsense that they got a majority and we can't stop it. There are ways and means of stopping it. And like I said yesterday, broke up the MACE. Broke up the MACE. You cannot have the House of Assembly conducting business in the absence of the MACE. Because there is no authority to conduct business in the absence of the MACE. The MACE is the authority of Parliament. The MACE is what gives the Speaker and every member of the National Assembly authority. Somebody is asking, what is the MACE? The MACE is an important instrument of the National Assembly. It is the instrument which says the House is in sitting or the House is in recession. Whenever the House is in sitting, whenever the House is in business, the MACE sits on a stand in front of the Speaker, facing the government. The head of the MACE faces the government. When the House is in recession, the MACE is removed from the parliamentary chambers. When the MACE is present in the parliamentary chambers, there are some protocols which must be observed. For example, when you stand, you have to bow. I really don't like this bow thing, but you got to bow to the Speaker. And just as those protocols are in place, there are protocols to be followed for a bill to be passed. No one, it's not like a hammer, it's the gavel. It's like the hammer, the judge's gavel. I'll try to get an image of the, I'll try to get an image of the MACE for y'all. Right? But the story is, for Parliament's business to go on, the MACE has to be in place. And so my understanding, and there's video to support my understanding, is that when the vote was called, for the passage of the bill, the MACE wasn't in the chamber. Right? The MACE wasn't in the chamber. The MACE was out of the chamber. Why? Why? And then Ferguson, my sister, big up yourself. Ace of MACE. The PPP and their trolls and their minions and their surrogates, those who they're buying the media, are spinning a story this morning to say that opposition elements attempted to steal the MACE. Opposition elements didn't attempt to steal the MACE. The MACE ain't got no value to opposition elements if they thief them. All they wanted to do is remove it from the stand because its presence gives authority to the Speaker and the rest of the Parliament. And so what they did is snatch the damn thing from where it was. You could have licked them down, you could have broke them, you could have do what you want with it, so long as it was not in its rightful place, the house was not in order. And so the defendant of the MACE, the sergeant of arms, unfortunately in this instance he black, you're not in but in life. But you know what he did? He ran out the assembly with it. In his zealousness to protect the MACE. Guys like the PPP must believe somebody want to thief him too. But in his zealousness to protect the MACE, he ran out of the parliamentary chamber with it. And from he ran out with it, it's not present. First, it's not present in the chamber. Secondly, it's not in the rightful place. And so all that was happening there was a big lie. All that was happening here was a big lie. So this nonsense that is spinning in the media with the gutter journalists and all of them talking about opposition elements attempting to steal MACE, nonsense. But they will talk to the gullible, the intellectually lazy. Right? And the intellectually lazy could believe them. But we know different. We know different. If MACE wasn't there, the bill wasn't passed. As they say, pray for what you want, but act. God will do the rest, according to my Christian friends. And so they were confused. Those who the gods want to destroy, they first make mad. They confused them. They were so intent on voting and passing this nasty piece of legislation that they didn't realize the MACE wasn't where it was supposed to be. And so they're spinning now. The bill was passed. Well, hear this. Because we know the bill wasn't passed following the protocols. Any act resulting from that so-called belief that the bill was passed is illegal and illegitimate. And what the opposition needs to do right now is approach the court as of this morning. As of this morning, for judicial review or whatever they call it, because I don't think the court could really intervene in parliamentary affairs except by way of judicial review. So go, get judicial review. They did it on the no confidence motion. There was judicial review. Go get it. As of now, there's urgency, so they ain't supposed to get a delay. File an injunction. Stop this thieving, corrupt cabal from using yesterday's proceedings to bring the NRF to zero balance. Because there's no basis for them to do it. There's no law supporting it. And so, I know my friends, I'm not a lawyer. So the lawyers in the coalition most likely know this. And so I'm hoping by the end of today to hear that the courts were approached. And an injunction was granted. Don't allow these corrupt and criminal cabal, these thieves from the slums of Calcutta, according to Rwanda, to carry off our money. Don't. Don't. Congratulations on it. The picture for the day for me is that man lying on his back with a mace in between his thighs and he holding on for dear life. Right? He was holding on for dear life, but the mace was not where it was supposed to be. Right? But the question that came to my mind, where the heck were the male parliamentarians in all of this? You mean there's a woman had to snatch the mace got weight? And so if one of these big-shouldered, able-bodied men had done the snatching, maybe they would have got for bucket. I like things broke up. The PPP got a scorch of the art policy. If we can't get it, nobody can get it. And sometimes you have to take their attitude to things. If we can't get it, nobody can get it. Broke it up. But hey, well, that is only one part of the victory. We still have to see the courts being asked to intervene in this matter. Right? We still have to continue to educate our people. You know, there's so much we can say about Parliament. I don't want to say the young MPs are ignorant of a lot of the privileges in Parliament. But I want to say perhaps they have not been taught. They have not done the research. Because parliamentary privilege, you could do nothing in Parliament, you know. I'm going to share with you an article that the opposition posted. It's a story I know and so on. Right. And you will see some of the things that were done by the PPP in Parliament. Despite the fact that they're calling the opposition members stuggish now, and goons and all kinds of things, they were just as stuggish and goonish. And so we got some lies to expose this morning. But there's so many things you can do in Parliament. And parliamentary privilege allows you to do them. Like shout rape in Parliament. Ordinarily, a satire girl had shouted rape in the streets of Georgetown or outside of Parliament anywhere. She could have been charged for public mischief, for shouting rape when she was not being raped. But she shouted rape in Parliament. You couldn't do her anything. When there was a riotous behavior of Bishop and the whole gang in the National Assembly, then the police called for backup. When the police went to the chambers, they were told, police ain't got no business in here. Police were assaulted. Remember? Police were assaulted in the chambers. Nothing came of it. Because they got parliamentary privilege. The parliamentarians could do what they like. Right? So, the most would happen to you if you'd broke up the mace. Right? And then put your guard on it. It's coming. They're going to gag you. You could get suspended. They're going to send you to the Committee of Privileges. Yes. When you misbehave in Parliament, you know, you're not before the court. At least not the judicial court. You're not before the Committee of Privileges. And there were several people. In fact, Bishop Ejil was placed before the Committee of Privileges in that same incident. And nothing came of it because the damn stupid, ignorant coalition, government and the Granger were too forgiving. They were too forgiving. And so Bishop Edgel got off with a slap on the wrist in that incident. I wonder if the story ever came to its rightful end. But they are going to take you to the Committee of Privileges. Look out for it. Right? Look out for it. I understand when Jagan behaved badly. So there's precedent for this. Don't let it tell you otherwise. When Janet behaved badly, he was gagged. I was told for 5 years. He couldn't speak in the National Assembly. But he didn't care. And that's my point. So long as you achieve what you set out to achieve, forget the consequences. That's the attitude of the PPP. So I'm seeing here, Chronicles of Hypocrisy. That's not what I was about to show you, but I will read it for you. I think it's posted by Christopher Jones. When Edgel refused to remove from the house and Pierre shouted rape, it was protest. When they disrupted President Granger's speech in Parliament, it was protest. When they tried to turn over the minister's vehicle carrying Cummins, it was protest. When the mace was grabbed and pelted, when the mace was grabbed and the speaker pelted with a glass, and the law books were thrown down in 1991, it was protest. Right? All of those things were done by the PPP, you know. But when the mace was grabbed in this instance, is thug. Is what you call it, thuggery. Right? Well, we ain't buying them. Don't worry, that thing is, we ain't buying that thing but thuggery. We ain't got no time with y'all and thuggery. Here's a picture of the mace. I promise you I will show it to you. I promise I will show it to you. This morning I'll take my time. I hope to take my time. You know, this is a BUXTONIAN University. That's the mace. That is what it kind of looks like. Right? You see the crown? That part points to the government. When the setting is in order. Right? That's a mace there. I'll keep a good look at it. This is Social Studies and Parliamentary Affairs 101 this morning. But let me share with you this article. It's Starbuck News. So y'all can says Mr. Amsterdam. 30 years of Starbuck News, glimpses of the past. And this one is called Pandemonium in Parliament by Anand Prasad. Read along, class. Once you can see, read along. Let me read for you. Pandemonium broke out in the National Assembly yesterday as the PPP succeeded in disrupting the session during which a drinking glass was hurled in the direction of the speaker, says Narayan, and the entire opposition walked out during the debate. So on that day in 1991, they pelt the speaker, or they pelt the glass in the direction of the speaker. I guess he had to duck. I tell you, I'll make the other one run yesterday, but he didn't run. Oh, or he was encircled for protection. The other side. I tell you, I'll make you run. So this glass was pelted in the direction of the speaker, says Narayan. And the entire opposition walked out. Let's continue. It was the Constitution Amendment Bill 1991, which seeks to extend the life of Parliament and consequently delay elections, came up for its second reading. But no one could hear Attorney General Kit Messiah make his presentation above the loud and consistent din caused by the PPP, in which its leader, Dr. Chetty Jagan, played a starring role. Prime Minister Hamilton Green was forced to summon a press conference after debate on the bill ended to afford Messiah Messiah an opportunity to present his arguments so that the press corps could hear. The session began without any unusual occurrence until the heading personal explanations was reached in the sequence of items that came up on the business for the sitting. When God, PPP leader Dr. Jagan rose from his seat to speak, he was ignored by Speaker Narain, who instructed the acting clerk of the assembly to proceed with the business of the session. Dr. Jagan became infuriated and began banging a paperweight on his desk, continuously demanding that he be given the right to speak. The speaker's refusal to grant Dr. Jagan's wish prompted a series of confrontations between Narain and PPP frontbencher Ripudaman Prasad, who was on point of order, argued in favor of the opposition leader being given an opportunity to speak. Narain, however, disallowed Prasad's arguments and instructed that the session continue with Finance Minister Carl Greenidge's voice straining over the uproar to present the bill. Prasad remained standing, and Dr. Jagan and the entire PPP bench began to heckle loudly and knock their desks with paperweights until a deafening clamor was raised. A packed gallery looked on attentively at the proceedings, and onlookers outside of Parliament chambers craned their necks to get a glimpse of the action as Prasad talked without being recognized by the speaker, and an uproar was caused by the PPP benches. At this stage, Messiah got up from his seat to move the second reading of the bill, and this prompted an enraged Ishaq Basir of the PPP to rise and ask if this was the same Messiah who had brought legislation to the National Assembly validating the later impugned voters list. Basir was ruled out of order, but this only incensed him further, and in the backdrop of the tumult raised by his PPP colleagues, he got up from his seat and walked around to where the ceremonial mace lay on the table in front of the speaker. By this time, and still shouting at the top of his voice, Dr. Jagan flung law volumes. Dr. Jagan flung law volumes and a water pitcher to the ground. Basir picked up the mace and handed it to Dr. Jagan, telling him he had the right to speak. The confused sergeant at arms then sprung into action to protect the mace, which he is entrusted with handling during proceedings. At this stage, Narain threatened to call for the police, but this did not daunt any of the PPP parliamentarians, and Dr. Jagan continued to fire personal insults at the speaker. This prompted the speaker, in an unusual occurrence, to turn to the press bench and warn reporters not to carry any of the remarks that were shouted by Dr. Jagan. Narain was then forced to suspend the sitting of the National Assembly. To the delight of the PPP parliamentarians, Ghana Public Communications Agency Executive Chairman Christopher Nascimento approached the press benches and warned that reporting statements made by Dr. Jagan could result in libels and other such actions against the errant media, as the statements were not privileged under parliamentary procedures. In the view of representatives from foreign missions and non-parliamentary opposition parties, the sitting resumed 15 minutes later, with the PPP continuing its tactics of disruption. Narain, however, ignored this and told Messiah to get on with the reading. The Legal Affairs Minister began presenting its case for the come do the right thing. Where you going? Presenting its case for... Come the man, why you slide up? Something's difficult, you know. Presenting its case for the extension of the life of Parliament. And this caused an... sometimes I can't agree with technology. Yes. And this caused an agitated Basir to pelt an empty drinking glass at Speaker Narain. The glass did not hit him, but struck about a foot off and fell onto the ground. Narain remained unmoved. Messiah continued arguing, but nothing could be heard above the din. Right? Let me stop there. That's just to give you some background. Y'all here? There is precedence. It's protest. It is protest. It's precedence. The PPP pelted the speaker. Nobody got pelted last night or yesterday evening. The MACE was dislodged from its rightful place. The sitting has to be suspended to the glee of the PPP. That is what protest is intended to do, disrupt the norm. And so congratulations again. The norm was disrupted as we wanted. Right? But there's more. They say they always got more in the market than the pestle. There's more. Let me show you how the lion corrupt. And the liars, or the lion corrupt, is always found in a black face. In a black face. This here is our slave, Polari Joe, sitting with my gutter journalism friend, the critic.
I've actually have
Are you
start
listening?
in 2021 because today, as my head states, MPs in Parliament tried to steal the MACE and were very disruptive and try to stop the government from passing a bill that is supposed to benefit Guyanese people. I was not there. So with me I have a minister within the Ministry of Public Works, Deodat Indar, and Minister of Labor, Mr. Joe Hamilton. And they who were there on the ground are going to explain to us exactly what transpired. I am going to ask questions to make sure the people have clarity as to what would cause this kind of vulgarity in Parliament. Ministers, good evening and thank you for this opportunity to bring clarity and transparency to Guyanese.
Good evening and thank you very much for having us here this evening. Whilst we are here with you, I can say that...
Let me stick a pin. It was vulgar last evening, but it wasn't vulgar in 1991. It was disruptive last evening, but it wasn't disruptive then. What credibility these folks have? Y'all tell me. Speak for rain, speak for sun. The truth shall set you free. Let's hear this layman.
On all television stations, actually, you have 2 or 3 ministers doing the same thing that we are doing here with you.
Stop! Stick a pin! You hear what they did? They went on their media campaign immediately. Media campaign immediately. The PPP ensured that there were at least 3 minutes available for the critic on every television station that they control. Listen to Polari Joe. I didn't say it. Right? I didn't say it. Polari Joe said it. As I'm here, let me inform you that there's at least 2 or 3 minutes made available for you to do what you're doing here on every television station. No, listen, Rose, I can't move past them. You have to understand the enemy. Oh, you have to understand the enemy. He said the opposition disrupted or attempted to disrupt to stop the passage of a bill which is supposed to be a benefit to Guyanese. He means the PPP and the minions like himself. That is what he really meant. What is in it for me? You see what I'm saying? That's what critic is concerned about. What is in it for me? But anyhow, we talking about Lyman Joe. Yeah, listen to Lyman Joe. Polorjo. I understand his son was bold enough to call Aubrey Norton a nigger yesterday. Well, Aubrey Norton may be a nigger, I don't know. But what I know for a fact is that Polorjo is a house nigger. PPP house slave and stooge. But we continue with our program here, like.
So that we can properly overnight inform the nation about what transpired in the National Assembly.
Pay attention to the question coming up.
Give me from your perspective, being a seasoned politician, have you experienced anything as such before?
No, not at all. But what the opposition...
Yeah, lie. That is lie. Teacher Percy said if you tell a lie, you're going to tell as soon as you lie. The question was asked. You are a seasoned politician. In all your life in politics, has any of this ever taken place before? No. Can you believe it? Can you believe this barefaced liar man named Polorjo? I just show you the evidence. It happened before. And not only did it happen before in Guyana's parliament, it happened in the British parliament. During the Brexit debates, a parliamentarian picked up the mace to disrupt the house. So there is international precedents and there is local precedents. As a matter of fact, one might argue that Chetty Jagan was ahead of his time, man, because he did it even before the Brits. So what lie this guy talking? What lie? What lie? But let's continue with these lies. Listen carefully to what is going to be said now.
They were attempting to do it. They have worked it out, and Guyanese must understand what is happening. They have worked it out that once this bill is passed, it allows the regulation and the framework to ensure that the proceeds from oil come into the public treasury. And that allows the government to start utilizing funds from oil revenue to expand and develop this country via infrastructure work, more housing, healthcare delivery, educational delivery, social service delivery. And they know that once that happens, already they know that they will never again be back in power. But Guyanese, you think about it. We have not, that is the People's Progressive Party said it, we have not started to utilize oil revenue to do all the things that you have seen us do in less than a year and a half. So just cast your minds when we start to utilize oil revenue for the development and expansion of this country. The more technical issues of the bill, my colleague Deodat Indar will deal with it, Minister Indar, because he was close to the activities of the framework and putting the bill together. What I will attempt to deal with the political issues surrounding what transpired.
Listening?
The other important issue, and
listening?
I said it earlier tonight. And the people who support PNC in APNU and all the leaders in APNU must understand. You cannot intimidate the People's Progressive Party. They must understand that. I'm repeating it. See that. The party of which is the bedrock of this government survived for 70 years, outlived the British Empire, outlived Forbes Burnham and his dictatorship, outlived Desmond Hoyt with more fire and slow fire, outlived Granger trying to steal in elections. So I don't know why these nincompoop think that they could somehow intimidate us. They could seek to have us cow. That will not happen. That cannot happen. We were elected to govern, and govern we will, with or without the opposition.
Minister,
Y'all hear that? They can't be intimidated. Because they survived Barnum, they survived Desmond, they survived Granger. They can't be intimidated. They were elected to govern, and they will govern with or without the opposition. When we are of the firm view, they were installed based on a fraudulent election. And so they have no legitimacy, and Guyanese must remind them every day that they have no legitimacy, and Guyanese must be prepared to confront these fools who believe that they could do as they like with or without the opposition. And that's the danger. When you tell yourself a lie often enough, you start to believe it. And so they believe that they have legitimacy, they were elected to govern. And does being elected to govern give you a right? Does being elected to govern give you a right to mismanage the nation's resources and not be challenged? Huh? Are these folks saying that the only way, let's assume this argument about development, wanting to bring development, are they saying that they can access the Natural Resource Fund with the current act? Are they saying that having oversight of 21 or 22 persons prevents them from accessing the fund? I didn't get that understanding. My understanding is that you have to be more accountable with it. And they're running from that accountability because they want to spirit off the Guyanese people money to Dubai and the places that they usually do. And so Guyanese have to be woke. And we have to keep them on their toes. The parliamentarians have a new skill now. They have been reawakened, or they have been awakened. When anything going in your way, disrupt the house. President is there for it. Tasha Saleh, I will tell my moderators to block you if you cuss again. Don't cuss on this program. Leave that for the trenches. I know you're better standing. All right. Don't be cussing up here. But their lies will catch up with them. Who is that was speaking? Joe Harmon. Joe Hamilton. Like all the age. Joe Hamilton. Polari Joe. And if you want this political history, he was once a PNC goon, you know. My God, why you always take me to these places? That's why you all out bite your well bitten. Hamilton is a former PNC goon, biting them. He was a member of the House of Israel. You remember the House of Israel led by Rabbi Washington? Allegedly, the PNC enforcing squad back in time this man is alleged to have committed murders, political murders and personal murders, if I can differentiate them like that. Alleged to, know what I said? It is alleged that he had killed and buried a member of the House of Israel. It is alleged that he knows about Father Dark's death. Y'all remember Father Dark was murdered with a bayonet, I think? So who is Polari Joe? Who is? Y'all go research his political history. Yeah? Y'all are scamming into some dark places. You have to know the political history of this country. So when you look at some of them, you know why they behave the way they behave. A lot of them behave the way they behave because they're looking for protection from their sins of past. And then Barnabas saying, I no moral authority on which to stand to tell people anything. So Guyanese must be woke. And so when they're talking, he talking about the PPP can't be cowed and the PPP cannot be bullied and so on. Guyanese citizens must make them aware that the power lies with the people. People's power, no dictator. Congratulations again to the parliamentarians. You did well. Annette, big up yourself. But I won't call Annette. I wonder if she finished doing that thing she does in the morning. I want her to tell me what was going through her head when she snatched the mace. And how she feels now that she is the snatcher of the mace. Ace of mace. Right? Ace of mace. And not only is she ace of mace, she gonna get her day before the committee of privileges. I'm calling her. Why she gonna answer me this morning? It's like we ain't talking, no. The girl didn't want to talk to me. Oh, she tired from me sitting last night. The little hard work got she sleeping late. All right. Anyhow, it's 5 minutes past 8 o'clock hour. I'm not going to be talking about anything else except this issue. But I've noted it is very important for the members of the opposition to approach the courts in this issue. Very, very important. Very, extremely important. My call has always been for the opposition to use the court as much as they had used the court when they were in opposition. And so let us test this thing in court. Right? Let's test this thing in court. Let me see if I can find my photo of the day. Anyhow, the lines are up. 6225933 is the number to call. You can call. Don't cuss. And stick to the topic. Let me play this voice note. It should be the first one for the morning. I don't know what they're saying.
The males have skeletons in the closet, so they can't go and snatch. They can't stand up for nothing. They're failing us. They're failing us. Who got skeletons in the pocket, itching up and loving up with the PPP, drinking and knocking glass? They can't go to front. They cannot go to front to represent the people. Because matters what come, they are still getting from the phone is the low-class people like me, my children, my grandchildren, and the rest of us is going to get zero. Here they're going to govern the country with or without us. So who them going to govern themselves? And that's what they're doing. It's about them. It's not about the people. Because he said plain, with or without us, they're going to govern. So who are they going to govern? Themselves? I thought all along is the people has the power, because when they're campaigning, that's what they say. It's not the government, it's not the 36 or the 65 have the power. It's we, the people. And they're not serving us. They're not doing anything for us. All they're doing is filling their pocket.
Y'all look at that image there. That man. Oh, Lord. You see how you hold on to the base? And now you're seeing the actual, you can say the real thing, through photography. I'm calling you live. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mr. Amsterdam. How are you this morning? I just want to, you mentioned, you said that because the base was not in place, this passing was illegitimate. It's not legal. So my question is, I don't know if you may know the answer to this, but I don't know how it works if in regards to withdrawing money from this fund, I want to know how if it's active right now, or if someone had to be someone overseas in the bank that the money is in had to be alerted that well this new law is active or it's not. How long is it going into place? How long is it active before they will start drawing this money? Do we have time to move to the courts? What I don't know what happens. I don't really understand what I'm trying to ask.
Yes, I understand what you're asking. Basically, you're asking if, quote unquote, the passage of the bill immediately makes the money accessible. I'm sure that there are procedures you will have to go through. A bank withdrawal of that magnitude doesn't just happen in 24 hours. And that is why, in my mind, it's important that the opposition moves to the court and moves quickly to put a spoke in this wheel.
I'm hoping that. I hope that they got a message. I think they should. Okay, thanks, sir. That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you, caller. Caller Live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Doc. How are you doing? Not bad. Happy New Year.
Why are you ecstatic right now? The opposition has redeemed themselves just for a night.
Okay, my comment is, why is it these oppositions, why is it they're not standing up strong enough to be installed cabal? Because I was watching the program not too long with the install Minister of with name Labour. And this guy gets a rubber stamp to the PPP then because this guy is like so much and they're just using him to push him to front. And I think they should stand up and think what is right and do the right thing because what they're doing this country is a terrible disaster if they don't come to front. Now, because these people bullying away and they think that people end up easy or what the case may be, these opposition have to do more, you know, and PPP using a lot of Negro to give them money on what the case may be to do a lot of foolishness. For instance, the one who called Mr. Norton, maybe he should be ashamed of himself because maybe he could like a bribe or whatsoever. But to be out there.
And the son is the son of Polari Joe, you know. They said the fool don't fall far from the tree.
Well, they're using him. He's a rubber stamp. So, and half of the things that he was talking is lies. So, it's nothing that nothing that them say. They don't believe them. But what have them bad is that the bill that they cannot pass to steal the guy his money, it does what have them bad. And the opposition, they need to stand up, move from, and also people need to come out and stop sitting down and talking, just talk like that, and nothing. Because a lot of them going to be suffering, like they're already suffering, and they're going to be a terrible disaster. They have to stand up to these regime right now. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all take a glimpse of what went on in the parliament.
Allow the minister to continue.
Caller Live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. How are you doing, sir?
I'm okay.
Listen, you misread what happened with Ferguson, you know. That was a fake play by the opposition because they were more looking for the men to do it. So the men was a distraction so Ferguson could get her hands on the mace.
I can take that reasoning too.
Huh?
I can take that reasoning too.
Right. And number two, remember, Critic have to do his part because allegedly the PPP is protecting his son from going to jail for that murder. If you remember that his son hit a man down.
Yeah, remember that accident in the vicinity of Corbin Park?
Right, so Critic got a sting now to protect his son.
But more than that, Critic basically has to sing for his supper. He was already being fed by the PPP.
Well, we already know he's a soup drinker.
Right now, you see that green background and fancy table? Compliments to the PPP and their supporters, you know. Critics is talking about opening a studio. Television and radio.
All the time, but I love your picture of the day, man. I got to put that one up on my wall.
Thank you.
Have a good day, sir.
Yes, you too. Good. I remember that accident with which involved Critic's son. As a matter of fact, my source in the Guyana police force had told me that the guy died on the night of the accident. But it wasn't so. He was badly injured. He was badly injured. And Critics, if I remember, called me. I can't remember if it was live, to tell me that, you know, Amsterdam, you do stupidness, the man in there, and so on and thing. I know you want to make it big in this thing, but you got to give people credible information. Well, credible information, Critic is being paid by the PPP. He's on their payroll. That's credible. Y'all gonna see the information. It's coming soon. I got a white paper, you know. Well, Calling Life. Good morning. Calling Life.
Hi, good morning, Kadaki. Good morning. Kudos to the parliamentarians yesterday. But I still feel they were a bit too... Hello?
Yes, we are listening.
Oh, my battery is low. I still feel they were a bit too soft in it. Blowing whistle and just hollering no teeth in bill should have been it. Seriously, they should have gone into Ashley saying, push the hand and lash the paper out, move the mic, break up everything. You understand? That is a bit soft. It's a bit soft. Right? And the protest yesterday, I personally feel the protest yesterday, I know the two positions are different with Harman and Norton. But Persons does not want to support Harman. If the past president free up that position in Parliament so Norton can go in, the first party should move is the opposition leader. Let Norton be the opposition leader and the party leader. Then they're going to see a turnaround in this country. Persons does not want to support Harman. And unless he is moved, this country will stay as is. And is he behaving as if he grandfather left the position free? So unless he moves, nothing will happen. But again, kudos to Ms. Ferguson for being that brave one. Right? For being that brave one. So good morning again and thanks.
Thank you, Carla. Somebody's asking if somebody would have paid the cost. Yes, I think their voice notes. Let me play this one. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I don't know why the government is in such a haste to pass this fraudulent bill. And the Minister of Labor, he just said that they're going to utilize the money to do all the construction and everything in Guyana. These people are telling you that they're going to thief the money. They're telling you that Guyanese that they're going to thief the money. I wanted to know if the PPP have a transport for Guyana. So therefore, all the natural resources, whatever comes from the natural resources, is not for Guyanese. It's only for them. It's so. I don't know what's going on in that place. I don't know. These people have no shame and they have no conscience. And I don't know what happened to the patriotic Guyanese. I don't know. Everybody just sit down. They just sit down and let these thieves trying to loot the patrimony. Wake up, Guyanese.
Thank you for that voice. Now, calling you live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Kadaki, and all the listening and watching public. I'd like to send congratulations to the entire opposition parliament team, especially Sherrod. Sherrod, by my heart, I like how you carry the fight. And Annette Ferguson. And I congratulate them all. Because that was a concerted effort coming together at a precise time to do what they did. They are good. When President Granger picked that team for Parliament, many persons looked on the youthfulness of the team against the geriatrics of the PPP. But Granger always a visionary. He knew what he was doing. The geriatrics need a youthful cabal, that a battery of opponents who could jump in the chest and take the position in the chest. Now I think that this man, Harmon, should vacate. And the people had to act and behave, because the new leader of the party is a road by, a yard by, who got the spirit within him. So if that's your leader, you have got to follow. And Kedaki, I am bigging you up, because on the show yesterday, you gave us a little insight of the power of the MACE. And even if I didn't know that, and I didn't know that, your insight of removal of that MACE was a good point, because when the time was right, and getting the info from you, knew what she had to do. And the last thing, you talk about not being given radio stations. If you, Sherrod, Kevin, and the rest of us had licensed opposition operations to bring out the news to the media, the cabal would have moved hell and scissors with the different rules, I think is the broadcasting rules, to silence you. And because you are not operating with a license, you can bring the news. You think Sherrod would have been able to be streaming in the parliament buildings to let us know outside what was going on? Look, when the press went, they refused to interview the opposition members of parliament. They only interviewed the government side. So don't cry that you didn't get a license to perform, because if you had a license, they would have taken it away, they would have silenced you, and we could not have gotten. And thanks to Sherrod, who was able to stream outside and to send what was going on in the parliament, and for Roysdale Fort, who could have gotten up right away and said, this bill is illegitimate because of this. Because if we didn't have inside viewership of what was going on in that place there at Lillian Dal, they would have come out, the liar bastards that they are, they would have come out and say that they passed the bill. But a picture tells 1,000 words, and with those pictures that are out in the domain, in the cyber world, it's all over. We all know that the bill is null and void. And thanks for bringing up some of the issues of the behavior of the PPP in Parliament, showing that the leader, who everybody does say, oh, Jagan was a good leader, let the world see. I know Jagan was nothing, but he only pretended. And to Polari Joe, he is a dunce, the whole PPP. Now he's going to say that PPP is in power for 70 odd years, older than the British Empire. He is mad to the ground, because none of us could talk about the length of the British Empire along this world. Because since Walter Raleigh, they come and start thieving the goods from the British and from the Spanish, and then they had the big fighting, and they end up, we were first, then with the French, I think then we went to the Dutch, and Raleigh came and upset those other governors of us, and then England began ruling us, and we became the colony. Let Polari Joe, if you could read that, right? Google it and see how long the British Empire there. If it there as 50 years as it as is trying to say. That is my thing. If they don't know nothing, don't let it talk. And what the PPP doing, all of them now running. We didn't have places. We had to make places like you, Sherrod, and Daphne Matthews to air our cars. They're running now. They get critics. They got the government media. Why they don't stay there and air the stupidness? Critics is the biggest thing, airing the thing. If we had places, we would have got there and air. But we got to use who we got. And what we using, what we got, it is very penetrative to them. And a dagger. Risedale Ford moved to the court this morning with this bill. Don't drop your foot. But let it say that the thing got no thing. Move today. So you're going to sleep afterwards. Move today and do what you got to do. Thanks, bye-bye.
Thank you. I got one disagreement with Rwanda though. Y'all don't tell me nothing about Granger know what he doing. Granger was simply being spiteful. He might have had some good picks, but he was spiteful. I am telling you that. You gotta get the inside stories. The line you heard of 62593 is the number to call. You know me, I just start the thing. Me all in what I say? Brief for nobody. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. The PPP is the biggest hypocrite I've ever seen, and that is dangerous. I have seen so many disruptive elements in the PPP. Look what they did at the Ashmin building. The role model Irfan Ali attempted to turn over a vehicle with the minister inside. That's hooliganism. Yes, we're human, and we tend to get passionate about what we believe in. Except I'm wrong, I've never seen any of our people behave in such a manner. Yet they are painting us as the worst. History hasn't reflected what they are portraying us to be, but history shows how violent they are. They will go out there and try to tell the world that we are the worst thing out, but as they do it, we must continue to debunk them by showing the world their history. I like the piece you showed this morning. I commend Ms. Ferguson for her action. I guess the new leadership brought out the energy and spunk from the MPs. Where were they all this time? I'm looking forward to a new beginning. Have a good day.
Call A Live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Kadaki. I want to know if one of the MPs, God forbid, or one of the MPs left the parliament, right? If Mr. Norton could go into parliament, and would he be the opposition leader if he got into parliament? But I'd like what transpired yesterday, and I am urging our people to keep up this struggle, up. We have got to keep this struggle and let the world see what is going on. Secondly is that I want to know, seeing that the government is legitimate, right? They were installed, right? The bill that they tried to pass yesterday was not passed properly because of the MACE, right? I want to know if the clause, one of the clause in the bank in America would look to see if they have to have proper passage of a bill to take out this money from the bank. That's my contribution, my question. Thank you very much.
Call hold the line.
Me, Mr. Kadaki.
Hold the line, please. Let me explain quickly. And let me address this thing about leader of the opposition and leader of the party. Again, Norton is leader of the party. Based on parliamentary procedure, Harman is leader of the opposition. If Norton goes into parliament, yes, he can become leader of the opposition. But there are things which must be done. For Norton to get into parliament, a parliamentarian would have to be recalled. Because there ain't no more seat for the opposition there. So somebody has to leave the parliament to make space for Norton. Who can make the decision as to whether or not Norton goes to Parliament? Let me just give you some crazy scenarios. Let's say Harman decides, all right, everybody calling me to leave the Parliament to give up the seat of the opposition. I'm going to resign from Parliament. Harman resigns from Parliament, his seat becomes vacant. One person and only one person can select who fills that seat. Granger. Granger is a representative of the list. He's the only person who can say who goes to Parliament for the opposition. Right? And so whether or not Norton is going to go to Parliament is dependent a whole lot on Granger. People will argue that Granger is no longer the leader of the PNC. But at the end of the day, I'm reminding people, the PNC didn't contest an election as the PNC. The PNC was a part of a grouping called APNU, a Partnership for National Unity, and Granger is the representative of that list. So it is he who decides who goes to Parliament. So even if Harman comes out and Granger doesn't want Norton in, he can't go. Let's keep that in mind. Let's say somebody is withdrawn. Not Harman. Somebody is withdrawn. And Norton is sent to Parliament. He goes to Parliament. Harman remains the leader of the opposition because he was voted into that position. For him to be removed from that position, he can either give it up. He can either give it up as in resigning, and so they will have to vote for another leader of the opposition. Or, I think 8 members of the House would have to approach the Speaker with a no confidence motion against the leader of the opposition. That no confidence motion now will have to be taken to the floor. And I think you have to have a 2/3 vote on it to remove the current leader of the opposition. So there are different ways by which the leader of the opposition can change. But I think the most important thing to take note of is Granger at the end of the day has what I want to call a casting vote as to whether or not Norton goes to Parliament. That is what you have to start with. Is Norton going to go to Parliament? Does he want to go to Parliament? Is Granger going to put him in Parliament? Those are things to ask. But my position is, in or out of Parliament, Norton has to step up the ante. Norton has to light the fire and keep it burning. Quite frankly, while I would like to see the leader of the opposition perhaps being the leader of the PNC because it might give him more clout, regardless of who the leader of the opposition is, Norton has a job to do, and he must do it resoundingly well. Right? In terms of the government, the legitimate accessing the money, I will have to try and reach out to former Minister of Finance or somebody in the past government who can explain to me what the agreements were when they agreed to deposit the money where it was deposited. The nation, again, was not privy to all of the details of that agreement. And so maybe somebody who has the details needs to step forward and explain it so Guyanese understand what we're dealing with. Calling Live, good morning.
Yes, Mr. Kadaki, good morning, and good morning, viewers and listeners. Here we have everything Guyanese at home and in the diaspora, and not only Guyanese, but everything that transpired in Parliament, that took place in Parliament, is out there for the world to see. Now here we have, I don't even want to say, because it's not only the supporters of the government, but I would say you have the opposition parliamentarians are being labeled as thugs and hooligans. In the outer world, it can be seen in Parliament where parliamentarians are brawling. And that goes to show the extent people would go to protect what they think needs to be protected. And yes, I as a Guyanese would like to know if, since the government is saying that the bill is passed, even though from what we understand the MACE not being there, can they still access the funds there in the accounts? So somebody needs to answer that question. And also the government need to realize that they were the ones who first started that sort of behavior in Parliament. And as they say in Guyana, do something like so. That's my views.
Thank you, Carla. Voice note. Did I play this one?
Kidaki, good morning. You see the deportee will go up in Mr. Norton face where you used to work at Sun Food Snack? He should have touched Norton. He should have touched Norton. The whole friggin' thing would have broke up. He should have touched Mr. Norton. He wastes all the years and he go home as a deportee and you work at Sun Food Snack and another snack place next to Sun Food. But you should have touched Mr. Norton.
Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Voice note.
Good morning, Kadakian listeners. Since yesterday, I told you there's where the action got to start. There's the lawmakers there. There's where they got to start the disruption, confusion. They must fight, lick down one another. All the action must start right there. Right there, the action must start. Okay, take care.
Voice note.
I keep saying all the time from day one, if we keep disturbing the parliament, when they get parliament and they hear the stupidness and the doors, make sure that lash down thing and broke down thing and assault people all in parliament so that at the end of the day, we know that well, it's a serious fight of fighting and that will give the people motivation to stand up. Thank you very much.
Voice note. The lines remain open. 62593 is the number to call.
My question is, I was looking yesterday at the protests, and I was looking last night and yesterday evening, earlier yesterday at Parliament, and nowhere have I seen Mr. Joseph Harman. My question is, I mean, if I missed it, if I missed him being there, I apologize. But if he wasn't there, my question is, why is he still holding on to the leader of the opposition? Because it seems as though he just wants to show people that he can still be the leader of the opposition. I know he have me confused because one time he's saying that for him to get to perform properly, he has to be the leader of the opposition and the leader of the PNCR. Now, he's not even an executive member of the party, but he's our opposition leader. I mean, rules and laws aside, does what the supporters want count? I am sure if Mr. Norton was a member of Parliament yesterday, we would have seen Mr. Norton there on the ground in that Parliament. I'm sure about that. So, like, I don't know. Mr. Harman need to go his way and let the work of the party go on. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Annette Ferguson, but what she did yesterday, I am very, very proud of her. And it goes to show again, a lot of these men in the parliament, all of them stick up there. And it's the women who forcing everything though.
Thank you, caller. Voice note to caller live. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. My question is, where was Mr. Harmon yesterday? Of all the videos that we saw, we did not see him. Where was he?
Caller, let me ask you something. Yeah? Y'all want to see Harmon or you want to see the back of Harmon? Y'all tell me. One time you want this man to disappear as leader of the opposition.
No.
And next time you ask him where he was.
No, not in that context. I just wanted to know where he was.
I don't know. He doesn't live with me.
Anyways, Mr. Amsterdam, listen, we want to big up our parliamentarians. Those people did it, man. Listen, we want to thank the guys who came out there and protested, yes. But at the end of the day, who protested outside could not make a difference.
No. Call us stick a pin. Stick a pin.
Listen.
Stick a pin.
No.
Let us stick a pin. I am the host. I say stick a pin. I pull it ranks. They say give Jackie jacket. Those who protested outside had an integral role to play.
Okay.
They contributed to the energies of those who finally did what they had to do inside. We must not disregard the efforts of our people. In as few as they are, they bring hope to the parliamentarians in this nation. Trust me. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was saying that they did a good job outside, yes, but what is more important is what was done in the House of Representatives, because, you know, even if you protest outside is good, yes, but inside is where all the decisions is making. So we want to thank those parliamentarians for standing up and fighting, you know, regardless of what the situation is. And the thing is now the president is saying that the bill was not passed, but even if you Google this thing like Mr. Norton said, which I personally did, and you can see without that MACE in place, the law is not legally passed. Whatever bill they're passing is not legally passed. And we can see clearly from the videos, all of the members, the leaders, they were standing. And indeed, they're saying that you have to be fully seated. When you look at that chaos, we enjoy it though. But when you look at the chaos and what's going on, what went on yesterday, we wasn't even hearing what the speaker was saying. We did not hear who said aye and who said no. More than less, we were just getting a confusion. So in the midst of that confusion, how can the president now come and tell us that the bill was successfully passed? I mean, come on. Anyways, I just want to big up the member of parliament. They did a good job. Thank you to the protesters. They did a good job also. So thank you. Let's see what they do today with the courts. And then, we move this thing forward. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. You know, sometimes we don't recognize the value of the energies of those who are not in parliament. Right? They don't recognize that value. If we were to reason that while people are doing things outside, the important thing is what is being done inside, then people should do nothing outside. What y'all say? What y'all say about that? Every mickle make a muckle. Every bit of energy counts. If you give the parliamentarians positive energy, they will do positive things. If you give them negative energy or no energy at all, then they will only rely on themselves for encouragement. And some of them have been so beaten into the ground that they will do nothing. So the importance, the protesters out there were important yesterday. I maintain that. And all those of us who are doing our little bit, we are important. What is happening? Listen, all right. Something wrong there. The call it upon. Let me look for another voice note. Caller Live, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Kadaki. I was out there yesterday, and don't mind how the crowd was little. We must give thanks to Mr. Glenn Lang. He was the man that really stood up, and I think effort like that is very good. He was there in the beginning and the end. He was there, and he stand up with us. And people are wondering, where was Harmon? I was there until the end. Nowhere Harmon was around. And how could he stand up to say he's the opposition leader and he is this and whatever he is? It doesn't make no sense. No sense at all. When the parliamentarians they come out for the lunch break, they were with us. And we were there in that boiling sun. And we stood up. He was nowhere around. And then the PPP send the thugs. A guy come there and push a woman down on the ground. We were there. But when we were going to beat him up, they take him to the police and they carry him away, he and the woman. That to show you, the distraction always come when you got a protest and it starts. The couple people who were there, they did well. They stand up. And these people who out in there and they're talking and they're saying a lot of nonsense, they should have been out there. It would have been better. Them ain't coming out. They ain't got no time for come out for study what's going on there. But they just want to run them out. Let it keep them out for home and we gonna do it outside. We gonna do it outside and we gonna get what we want. It was well done yesterday. And I must say congratulations again to Mr. Glenn Lang. He did well. He makes some of these people who was calling and say boots on the ground, he make they look like stupidness. And that man, Brian Marks too, was out there. We had it well. Well, it was well with everything. Water, everybody was coming, bringing water. Glenn Lang gave us money to buy lunch. A set of money. So he did well, and let us not forgetting him. He did well. And he didn't tell us to come back in the night, but certain the women, some of them could come back the night after the parliament. You understand? So let us be as one and stand up. Don't let me criticize nobody and talk nothing about nobody. When we are going, they ain't going out there. When I went there, I see a few people, it start to worry, But then the people start to come and they stand up. They want you to go and fight for them, and they're not running them out. Let them come out. Let them come out and stop running them out. That's my take for this morning.
Thank you, caller. Just say talk off left off. I can keep me off. I ain't got nothing for say. Whoa! Yes! It's now 8 hours 46 on the 30th of December. Let me invite you down at Kidam's place this afternoon. Come and let me line, man. Y'all come and buy 2 beer in a man, support the business. How you think I'm living? Y'all didn't want to support the program. When we got 956 viewers, listen, each one of y'all give me $1 now. Cash up. Y'all didn't want to support the program. Y'all didn't come in and buy a beer. How you think this thing getting maintained? Yeah, the sister? Glenn Lang did very well. He gave them a lot of money. He gave them money for buy food and so I got eat too. Oh, lot of way. Calling you live, good morning.
Morning, Kadaki. Great
morning.
Program and a lot of energy from the callers. I like to say Rhonda hit the nail on the head there. But also I would like to say I believe Joe is running interference for the PPP in terms of what he is doing in terms of staying the leader of the opposition in Parliament, because it's like a buffer between Aubrey Norton and the PPP. So as long as Joe Harmon is there, Aubrey wouldn't be able to carry out his full mandate. So it is a buffer interference he's running. The next thing I would like to see is, yes, they take it up to court and see if it can be delayed. Let's see how fast they will hear the case brought against the illegal PPP government, and if they'll rush it quickly so that they can get their hands on the money. We got to look for that. So what comes next? The protests happen, and if they're going to go to the court, then we still need to keep the pressure on. So that's my take. What comes next? So if the MO is we'll come out one day and then we just slide back in. So what needs to happen to sustain, a protest, that needs to happen. So we just can't come out one day and just slide back in the other day. And that's my take.
Thank you, caller. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki and viewers.
Call on the line.
2011, you had an opposition. PPP was in office. And the opposition, everything come to the floor, was blocked. Finally, 3 years later, we had an election. Right? That was the first 5 years that the coalition, they didn't collate as yet, but they blocked everything. Then we had an election in 15. And we vote the coalition in. And this is what I'm saying. We vote the coalition in. And the first couple of months, they start for themselves, not for the people. Not for the people. 5 years later, $1.4 trillion. And some we could argue, some we could say we get this and we get that. Some we could say we ain't get nothing. The politicians, they get everything. And the Indian businessmen, under that 3 year or 5 years, they get what they wanted. We didn't get anything. We get a new election, 2020. We could argue, and we could talk all kind of thing what happened. There's the government. They were sworn in. Got to see what they're going to do. The power is in the people, like you said. We got another election coming. Right? Got another election coming. And there's talk about critic, who get this and who get that. Why you think this happening to we? Because we didn't give ourselves nothing. And I, as a voter, I beg Annette Ferguson and Valda Lawrence, please, guys, when you take that office, make sure black people get something. Make sure we get something. We didn't get it, so we didn't vote again. Thank you. That's my take.
Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I want to congratulate you, first of all, for your insight yesterday, and the MP and everybody that protested. But I have a concern. Now, I wasn't able to view the old proceedings, but whatever I saw, I never saw Mr. Armand there. Now, my concern is, Mr. Kadaki, with Armand's support base being dwindling, I am concerned that if the opposition strategic planning, if it will be confidential with Armand, realizing that he losing support, and with the allegation that he and Ali is hand and gloves in business, this is my concern. I'm very much concerned if he is going to be another Charing Das. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hearing that this matter go to court this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, caller. Listen, I put in a ban out. Y'all don't come and ask me about Armand. Next person asks me about Armand, I'm cutting you off. Voice note. We got 8 minutes of program
Good
time.
morning again. Do you know if the opposition lawyers has moved to the court concerning the illegal passing of the bill? Because they can't drag the foot on anything. They got to move right away to the courts to take action.
No caller, I don't know, but I hope they have. I hope they are preparing to do that. Well, it's after 8 now, so they perhaps are there already. I don't know.
Good morning to you today. My point is, if Schumann wants to be a part of the PNC, why wasn't he there protesting with the parliamentarians? He should have been there to prove that he really means business. And that bill, that bogus bill, would not pass because they would not have had the one-seat majority. That's just my take on it. Have a great day.
I think the caller has it wrong, the voice noter. If Schumann votes with the opposition, the PPP still has a majority. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I am so pleased with the MPs. I just want to say congratulations, and the work have started, and may God bless them and continue to protect them. Who knows, to them and to you and to all those persons who went out yesterday. I just want to say congratulations, and may God continue to bless and protect each and every one of you.
I'm playing a video. I don't know what is on it.
You are not hidden.
I know what is on it now. I'll deal with this tomorrow. We can talk about this tomorrow.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. I don't know why the people are so focused on Mr. Harmon for yesterday. Is Mr. Harmon the focus for yesterday, or was it important for you Guyanese people in Guyana go out there and protest and fight for what is yours? Why is Mr. Harmon the focus? It's irrelevant yesterday for Mr. Harmon. It was irrelevant. He's not the focus. Right now, y'all need to focus on other things. Put your energy into other things, because Mr. Harmon is not the focus right now.
Very well. And so one of my young viewers, big up yourself, Kelly, has sent me some information on the MACE. The MACE is carried into the Parliament chamber by the Sergeant at Arms. He precedes the Speaker. The Sergeant at Arms places the MACE on the table in front of the Speaker after he takes his seat. This indicates that the House is in session. Whenever the Speaker leaves the chamber, the Sergeant at Arms removes the MACE, signaling that the House is no longer in session. The Speaker ensures the orderly conduct of matters within the House. He can be described as a referee, interpreting rules in an impartial manner, and defending the rights and privileges of members, including their right to speak. Yes, the Speaker is supposed to be impartial. We ain't got that here. Manzo Nadir is a stooge for the PPP.
Mr. Harmon play a big part in the geopolitics, in the wider game. Mr. Harmon play a part. Mr. Ranger play a part in the geopolitics. Exactly.
3 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Final call. What's your man telling we? Let me hear this.
Good evening, friends and colleagues, viewers. I am sitting here waiting for the resumption of a virtual parliament. I'm in virtual attendance today, looking at the madness that ensued, it looks like
Call and speak.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam.
Good morning to you, sir.
You know, I think I heard Polari Joe said that nobody is going to stop them or can do nothing. The opposition cannot do anything to stop them. But his son could have found his way between people who were protesting yesterday, between protesters, to try and stop them. Polari Joe should count his blessings this morning. I am telling you that he still has that very son who can call Mr. North or refer to him as a nigger. I am telling you, what I want to say, we can't say it on this program, but all now Guyana should have been upside down. For that very reason, you're going to refer to our leader as a nigger. You're going to refer, and he can still rest well, and Polari Joe can still have time to go and talk his nonsense with critic. My question, and I have another question. I want to ask the other MPs, where was Joseph Harmon yesterday?
I made a promise, didn't I? I just got the call off. Don't ask me about Harmon. Y'all know we're doing this thing. Polari Joe has a right to, indeed should be counting his blessings. Because he still has a son. Father Dark is no longer. Both of them were in crowded places when protests was taking place. I think that is what the call is hinting at. It's time to go. It's now 9 o'clock. Come down at Kidam's place. Let's have a beer late in the evening. Nice, comfortable environment. I'm sure you'll have some fun here. If you want to sing, you could sing. Y'all could make up all kind of songs about Joe and come and sing. But don't call me right now and ask me about Joe. Right? Have a good day, y'all. You see, it's always, I always say, there's a saying that all politics is local. And a lot of people ask the question, what is in it for me? Right? In the instance of Joe Harmon, I remember people say, black man like power. And if you take away the leadership of the opposition for Joe Harmon, maybe he has to return to being a businessman, a lawyer, and a regular citizen. That's not powerful enough. So maybe he wants to hold on to that, I don't know. Right? In the instance of Polari Joe's son, finding himself in the melee to call Norton a nigger, the boy is simply defending his bread and butter. He sees his bread and butter under threat. He sees Norton as one of the persons who are threatening his bread and butter, and so he decides to attack. The response is what we have to question. Lancelot, why you want me to stream from my place where you can buy a beer? Will you be buying a beer virtually? If you're going to buy a beer virtually, I will stream. Otherwise, you just want to tie up my time. And time is money. Have a great day. Goodbye.